Step into a world where thoughts shape reality, a realm governed not by the tangible, but by the power of the mind. Tonight, we explore an age-old enigma. Is positive thinking the key to success or just a hopeful mirage? Welcome to a unique journey into the essence of what propels us forward. We're delving into the power of optimism. For some, it's the fuel for greatness. For others, a fleeting dream. Today we've gathered visionaries who've tasted victory and faced defeat, all to share their insights on this mystical force in the arenas of business and growth. Is optimism a light through the storm or a mirage leading us astray? These are the questions we ponder tonight as we seek not just the answers, but understanding. So, relax and let curiosity lead us as we explore the mysteries of positive thinking. Is it the secret to transforming challenges into victories or merely wishful thinking? Together, we inch closer to uncovering this truth. Welcome to an evening of discovery. Welcome to the Mo Rock Show. Welcome and hello to my lovely co-host, Dr. Mandy. I'm so excited, Dr. Mandy, because this week we're delving into a subject matter that I know a lot of the folks in this community are excited to do a deep dive in. And I want to thank you and I want to welcome you, Dr. Mandy, for being my special co-host this week. I want to start off by asking you, before we bring in the panelists, how excited are you for this week's program, number one? And number two, the subject matter of positive thinking. Do you believe that it really can impact somebody's life? Let's start by asking you that question. Dr. Mandy, please.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you, Mo. And thank you so much again for having me this evening. It's such a wonderful topic to be involved in. When you told me the topic, I was like, oh, this is such a really juicy topic because it's really at the core of so many different teachings and the foundation of so many different philosophies all over the world of like, is it positive thinking? This is happening for me, not to me. Or is this like really, are the emotions we really need to dive deeper in? Can we actually harness them and use them as energy sources and all of that? And my philosophy on this is that it really is, there's a time for everything. There are times when it is really helpful to be positive thinking. It's really, really helpful to get you through the storm. And then there are times when it's really helpful to fully experience all the emotions and challenges of a situation and feel all of that and process all of that so that it may release from your body and it doesn't hold on to you forever. So that's kind of my philosophy, but I'm super curious to see what all the visionaries and thought leaders have to say about it on this call today.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Mandy. And with that, we're going to welcome the guests of this week's program. Welcome to Donna Campbell, Jamie Fogel, Joy Beck. Let's see, do we have any other all-stars? Yes, we do. Renee Dutton, Jeremy, who folks in this community are very familiar with. Of course, he is the famous alchemist. And the awesome Jason Antelek. So first of all, I want to welcome all of the all-stars here. What an incredible group. What an incredible lineup of individuals that are highly qualified to discuss this particular subject matter. I know that every single person that's on the screen has taken a lot of time in their life, a lot of time in their career to delve into this. Many of you actually teach this idea to others, and many of you have actually faced a tremendous amount of skepticism. And so today we're going to dive into the black, the white, from A to Z on the subject matter. Is positive thinking a secret sauce, or is it just a bunch of hype and baloney? Let's start with you, Donna Campbell. Donna Campbell, floor is yours.
You know, there is a time and place for everything. And so yes, positive thinking. Positive thinking, I think is really the tip of the iceberg, because remember that iceberg picture with top, and then the bottom part is submerged, and it's the 9% of the consciousness. So if just thinking positive thoughts, it's only really about 10% of your reality. The other 90% resides deeper in the subconscious, and that's really where the positivity needs to come to move things forward. But I also think that it's relative, because yes, 89% of our lives we should in this positive mindset, positive mode, whether conscious or subconscious. But also the flip side also is a part of it, because a place for anger. There's a place for sadness. There's a place for fear. It's just that we don't want those lower emotions running your life. So more of a 80-90 or an 80-20 or a 90-10 kind of rule of mostly positive, a little bit of the less of the lower for our soul's evolution and growth.
Thank you, Donna. And we're going to go to Jason Antelek next to answer this question. Is positive thinking a secret sauce? Does it actually have something tangible, or is it just a bunch of crap and baloney, Jason? And then I'm going to step back, and Dr. Mandy is going to lead the way for the next few minutes. Jason Antelek, please.
Thank you, Mo, and Dr. Mandy for hosting and running the show for us. Donna, appreciate your input to get us going. I'm going to jump on the same bandwagon that it has a place and a time. Positive thinking can be a secret sauce. It could be hype. Honestly, I'm just glad that souls are thinking for themselves, that they're asking the questions with awareness, whether it's a positive or negative. It provides a rounded outcome, a rounded view, right? And I love secret sauce and even hype. They have their place. Hype creates jobs that never existed. I'm a big fan of multiple revenue streams in ways that didn't actually exist before. And secret sauce shows up in lots of ways. I love to witness how people put their day-to-day gifts together to make their own recipe. I believe they all have a moment and a time, and it comes together when the time is right.
Mandy, you're muted. You're muted, Mandy. Let's make sure you're unmuted. Floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Yes, that's so wonderful. I love how you're thinking about, oh yes, it's great that just the soul is even observing that what is happening right now. And that's such a great first step to really look at what is happening. You have to really observe first what is happening in your brain. And so that's great. Let's go into Joy. What do you have to say about this?
I love the concept. When Donna shared it with me, I was thrilled because my name is Joy. I've loved it my whole life. However, I also love to teach. I teach, my day job is teaching, and I love teaching the kids that they don't have to stay in one emotion, that we call it land. So if they're in sad land or if they're in mad land, they stay there. Everything, it's not good, bad, or ugly, but then they can do some things. And so I teach them different ways to be able to shift and to go to a different place and acknowledge where they're at and what they want to feel. So it's fantastic.
Thank you, Joy. Yeah, so it's such a great concept of like not getting stuck in just one emotion. It's we can move. We're in control of how we feel, and we can move the emotions and transform them and transmute them. And I love that you're teaching kids that. Congratulations. Thank you. Jamie, let's see. What do you have to say on this topic of all of this?
Yeah, just personally for me, just when I used to live in that mindset of lack and limiting the beliefs, then that's what I just attracted more of, lack. And then when I changed that, and now I'm, doing the affirmations, doing the mindset, and I'm always looking for the silver linings and things. And, now things are always working out for me. I'm connecting with the people that, are bringing opportunities to me. So for me, it's just made such a huge impact in my life. And now I'm able to help and inspire other people.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, what do you have to say on positive thinking?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here on the show. And so absolutely positive thinking is a very powerful tool. It's something that we use to help us even get through those times when we are sad or depressed. What I would also say is that we have to dive into those emotions when we are sad and depressed and start looking at them and saying, all right, well, what's this coming from? Because we know it could be an old pattern that we want to transmute, so to speak. As Mo said, I am the alchemist. And so we want to transmute that. And so then it gets us back into that place where we can start thinking positively, because not only inside we feel positive, but outwardly we appear positive. And so I always say that you get to the point where you just know that you deserve the best of everything. And so that just kind of changes. And that is positive. It's just a different way of looking at the world, internally and externally.
I love that. Thank you, Jeremy. Awesome. Let's go to Renee. Let's see. What do you have to say on positive thinking?
First of all, it's an absolute honor to be here with all of you, and thank you, Mo, one of my very favorite thought leaders. This is my favorite subject. I could go on for hours, but I absolutely do think that positive thinking is a secret sauce, but it doesn't mean putting on a happy face and ignoring your emotions. You do have to process your emotions. But what I have done, and I'm writing about, is I put a time limit on it. I acknowledge that I'm sad, that I'm upset, that I'm angry, but how long am I going to stay there? And it depends, if a relative passes away, I give myself a little more time than if I'm just angry because my old landlord wasn't treating me right. But I do think that positive thinking will change every aspect of your life. And there's science. I have a whole book that shows the science behind it. The neuroplasticity, your brain will change if you think good thoughts for long enough. It will change if you think bad thoughts for long enough too, but not in the way that you want it to. So more later, I'll let it back to you guys. But again, you all had such amazing things to say, and I agree with everything all of you said.
Thank you, Renee. I love that concept of putting a time limit on it, right? I've read research where if you actually fully feel an emotion that it's like coming up and you fully let it express through your body, it will clear within a couple minutes. You just fully feel it and give yourself that time, let it express itself, and then you can get back and moving on with your life. Let the trigger pass through you. I love that concept, Renee. I'm curious if there's anyone, I know it's a yogic philosophy where we can really actually use the negative emotions as energy sources to move forward in our lives and like use it to fuel us to get through things in our life. And I'm curious, let's see, Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on really using the negative emotions in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, so there's going to be times in our lives when something is just going to really just grind our gears, so to speak. And so that's a motivator to not stay in that situation or that experience that's causing you to have that emotion. And so that can be a positive in a sense because you have a choice. Then I always say you have a choice with my clients. You can stay there, you can say something about it, or you can do something about it, or you can whine about it. And so, the whining about it obviously is negative. It's not going. You're just going to stay there and feel sorry for yourself. But if you use it as something and motivate to change it into something that is impactful, then that it's like being in a bad job or a job where you don't get along with your boss, or so that's a motivator for you to do what? Change your circumstances, get a new job or get a new business or something along those lines and so you look back and you say, oh, wow, that was really cool. That was a catalyst for pushing me forward. And so that is very positive.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Joy, what do you have to say about this? What are your thoughts on using a negative emotion to propel you farther in life?
Well, I love that Jeremy mentioned whining because, as you might imagine, with working with children, and I help grown-ups as well, which we're just overgrown children, right? At least let's hope so. On many aspects. But I oftentimes, when my kiddos get to griping, I will say, oh man, was that all you have? Let's give it some more. And we actually whine. And I teach a lesson about whining. And the reason I do is to give them permission that you aren't going to be thrilled about everything in your life. I tell them I'm entertaining, but I'm not a circus. And so there's things that we will do that we like. And I'm like, it's just like life. There's things we love to do and there's things we do. There's things we avoid. But acknowledging how you feel is the first step. And then that allows it so that our emotions don't get stuck. And then teaching them how to take it. And if any way that you can make it into a game, to whether it's that catalyst or make it into something as a challenge, is always a fun thing if you can wrap your head around that concept.
I love that. I love that you're teaching them strategies, the kids at such a young age, strategies to really process their emotions and utilize them in a beautiful way. Thank you, Joy.
It's so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Donna, what do you have to say? What are your thoughts on really how to use these negative emotions in a positive way?
I think really truly onto something there, Mandy, because all of our emotions and all of our feelings serve us in some way, shape, or form. And when we talk about lower emotions or lower energy or lower feelings, they fall into 3 categories. The first category is fear. Under fear, you can have stress, worry, pressure, anger, anxiety. But really, fear is a catalyst to say, wait a minute, I don't have love in this moment. So what do I need to do to have love? So it's just an essence of love. So when you recognize your fear state, it's an acknowledgement of what do I need for this, which is love. The second category is anger. Rage, resentment, frustration all fall into this category as well. But anger is just really saying, wait, I used to have love, but now I don't have love. So what do I need to change to go back to the positive love state? And then the third area is sadness. Grief, loneliness, those are different types of sadness. What sadness is saying is I'm holding on to love inside and I'm not expressing it out. So what do I need to express out to experience love? So all of these lower negative emotions or feelings, when recognized, having the awareness, like what Joy said, is when you back up the positivity of this concept of unconditional love, happiness, gratitude, thankfulness, peace. So you need both there, and the one facilitates the other.
Donna, the words you're sharing are so powerful that the universe is making everyone hear it twice, because you have a DJ remix. Every word you're saying is being heard twice. So we're going to ask you to leave and come back. And I'm just so honored, because that's the universe telling everyone watching to listen to Donna Campbell at least twice, because the words she's saying are so nice. So Donna, we're going to ask you to leave, check your internet connection, and come back. And Dr. Mandy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I did love what she was saying. It was really, really powerful stuff. I love how she went through each of the emotions. What Joy was saying also, I love the tools that she is teaching the children. I'd love to know any other tools that you are teaching. Jamie, do you have any tools that you love to teach to help people process emotions?
Well, for me personally, is to feel that emotion and let it resonate with you, but then not to hold on to it and just to let it go. And actually, for me, I had a couple frustrating experiences. I was driving up to San Francisco recently, and on my way, I was going to stop in Morro Bay for the night. And on the way there, my tire light went on. It was low. And so I get to Morro Bay, and the next morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go fill up my tire, right? And then be on my way to San Francisco. I'm driving alone. And so I get to the gas station, and all 3 gas stations, the air pumps were broken. I'm like, what are the chances? All 3. But instead of getting upset about that, I'm like, oh, great, there's a tire shop right there. So I went, and there was a hole in my tire. I'm like, thank God that all the gas stations didn't have working tire pumps, because I could have gotten in the road and ended up with a flat tire, ended up in an accident. So instead of getting frustrated, I'm like, oh, this is annoying. But the silver lining in something, glad I found out, and then made, got everything fixed and on the road. So for me, I try not to stay upset about things and just look for that silver lining. And if it's something that I'm frustrated about or whatever, sure, maybe I'm upset about it for a while, but I try not to hold on to it and just let it go.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. I love the personal story there. Renee, do you have a personal story of a time when you got frustrated or emotions were coming up, and how you navigated that in the time frame that you allowed yourself to feel the certain feelings and all of that?
Yes. Okay. So I have 3 things there I want to address. The first one was about the whining, the complaining. There was a time in my life where I just felt it wasn't fair. Everything was not being right. Everything was not being the way that it should have. So I would go on these long walks with my best friend, and we would vent, and we would both get so upset. And we did this a few times, and I realized I always felt worse. It did not help to whine. It did not help to complain, and it didn't help her either. We both felt horrible. So I said, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. I love you. I want to feel better. This is just not good. So we stopped doing that. And I'm not a big advocate of whining about injustices in the world because the world is not fair. And I think ultimately it just makes you feel worse. Tools. Yes, I have a lot of tools.
All right, give it to us.
Positive affirmations for me are really great. Subliminal ones, I even sleep to them. They're embedded in rain or ocean sounds. And I think those are great. I love binaural beats. I can actually feel my brain when I have them on with my stereo headphones, and you just start feeling better, and you don't feel the need to complain or whine, or you don't want to leave that good feeling by whining, which is not to say that I don't whine and I don't complain, because I do, but I really realize that I don't generally feel better. And if I do, maybe 30 seconds, especially if it's affecting somebody who loves me and who's listening, because it brings them down too. And what was the third? There was a third subject.
The person. Yeah, I think you hit them all. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
You know, I just have to chime in real quick because Renee, you inspired me to think about one of my favorite quotes. A very simple quote, but it's profound. Don't complain and don't explain. What does that mean? Don't complain about the problems in life. Don't whine. And don't explain means don't justify who you are to anybody, right? Don't complain and don't explain. You don't have to explain your purpose. You don't have to explain why you're on this earth. You don't have to explain the work that you do. You don't have to explain the opinions that you have. You don't have to explain the faith that you have. You don't have to explain to anybody the human being that you choose to be on this planet. Don't complain and don't explain. Dr. Mandy, back to you.
Thank you, Mo. I love that. And I was actually going to share my tool on that. I have a rule that if I complain about something 2 times, I either change it or I stop complaining about it. I don't want to sit around and waste my time complaining about things. So I find a way to move through it, or just remove that object from my life, do something, take action for it, or just, this is something that I'm just going to have to live with, and I move forward with that. And so I also love how you tied into that, the complain and explain. Don't complain and don't explain, because it's really, I love that, because there's no need to defend ourselves. There's no need to like really explain every single detail and have to defend ourselves and defend our position. Like, this is who I am and this is what I stand for, and there's no other explanation needed. So I love that. Thank you, Mo, for dropping in with that beautiful statement there. All right, let's go to Jason. We haven't heard from you in a while. Do you have any thoughts on what we've been talking about so far? There's been a lot shuffling around.
Well, I think it's great what Mo brought to the table and the excitement that you added to it. I would also say that we don't need permission to exercise our free will, right? And everybody gets the opportunity to do that in their own way. And that's what makes this journey so much fun, right? This working vacation that we know isn't fair, but has something going on to it. We can all at least agree to that. I think in the negative that we talked about, that is one of the most excellent places to hone our gifts. Whether we realize it or not, our talents and our skills are getting the fine edge, and we're finding out what they really are in those difficult spaces. And then we turn it around and apply it in a great way, right? I turned my emotions around by getting a fresh perspective. I like a little bit of logic because emotions kind of overwhelm me sometimes. So a little scoop of logic is always a good dose. And bringing emotions into things really does help it along, right? And to have a good perspective of that, even if it's not my own, lets me think about it outside the box.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, there's a lot of people I've met who, you were talking about bringing the logic in. That's a really beautiful concept. And I've met a lot of people that have been very successful in life that use a lot of logic, and they're using they're very stoic. They're like, they just always positive. Everything's going great. They're using their logic. They're navigating everything. They're always looking forward, and they're not bringing the emotions in. It usually is men. Sorry, but they're usually a little less in touch with the emotions, and that's just because they're less familiar and upbringing talking about their emotions and stuff usually. But what would I'd love to hear, Jeremy, from another man, like, what is, our emotions something that you feel comfortable talking about, and something that you feel are helpful in navigating the world and making decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, if we don't start thinking about our emotions, then how do we start to become emotionally intelligent? In other words, how do we discern through, why am I upset, or why am I sad? Why am I depressed? If you're just allowing yourself to experience, trying to internalize it, not work through them. So I think that understanding your emotions is vital to having a successful, happy life. And so it's one of those things where I think we mentioned earlier about not having to explain ourselves too much. I mean, it's one of those, so when we're looking at your emotions, one of the things I look at is if somebody says something to me and it challenges something I believe in, and I start to feel like unworthy, or like I'm not smart enough, or like they made me feel dumb, or those kind of things, I start to think, well, where is my values or my understanding of this particular topic? Where am I not strong in that ideal? Is this really what I believe? So it kind of gives me a mental map or a GPS to say, if I'm getting upset or offended, it might be something I need to take a look at in myself and look at those emotions so I can navigate through them and see, where am I missing a link in my thought process, and maybe I'm believing in something that I really don't believe in. I've had that happen before, because where did I really start to believe in this? And it was something that was given to me a long time ago, or I adjust the way I believe. And so it's just one of those things where if you don't navigate through your emotions or look at them and experience them, then you're kind of just brushing things under the rug, and you're running blindly through life, is just how I feel. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I really resonate with that. It's very powerful to make sure that we're really paying attention to the underlying things that are happening in our internal world, and making sure that there's not anything that needs to be examined in there that's, acting through us in a way that we're not even aware of. So you put some beautiful words to that. So thank you for sharing that, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's hop into Joy. Let's go back to you. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts on what the children that you're helping?
One of the clarifying things that I don't think I really mentioned is, we don't whine forever. We set a timer, and it's like small pieces. And I'm like, okay, we can do it. And then I say a lot of really interesting things because it's fun. So I call it our happy pants or our grouchy pants. And sometimes we actually pretend. I'm like, oh, I think you brought your grouchy pants. Let's get rid of those and let's find a different pair of breeches. And so we actually pretend to put on our happy pants, and we do a lot of movement and a lot of with music. And I teach a lot of like breathing and tapping, different strategies, because I think these kids, it's my 29th year teaching. And in the last 10 years or so, these kids aren't coming with the skills to be able to self-regulate. Truthfully, I grew up on a farm, and it was kind of like, rub it and keep going. So it wasn't like I was given a ton, but I had really great examples, which I'm really fortunate to have. But to teach them different strategies, I loved how Jamie said to find that silver lining, and Donna says that often. And how Jason said, we can learn, we can get nuggets of knowledge from whatever we're going through. And so being on that lookout, I teach my kids, I'm on the lookout for greatness. I can find stinker pots. I don't want to find them. I want to see that. And kids along with big kids like us, they'll kind of rise with whatever is expected. Think about how your children might be, or kids in general, at grandma's house compared to at the neighbor's house or whatever. And if they know you expect them to be nice humans and to be their best, and that it's okay if they have crummy days, but that we talk it through, then they will, and they actually will start to look for that as well. But it's not natural.
Mhm.
It doesn't seem to be as natural. I think innately they were that way, and then they've kind of gotten squashed. So
Right. Oh, I love that story. Thank you. Yeah. I love that you're teaching the children to self-regulate. You're teaching them to process things and regulate themselves, but you're also teaching them that whatever they're feeling is okay. Like to full acceptance of whatever is coming up is okay. And to not, it's not, we don't need to get mad at ourselves for feeling sad or be upset with any of these things. It's there. I just have my grumpy pants on today. I love that. I absolutely love that.
no, it's a good thing to teach them. They need those skills, and it's like we all need that, right? And so even parenting and it's just a good thing. And the more we can teach these kids, the better off our whole society will be too.
Definitely. That's why I'm so excited with what you're doing, because you're affecting the next generation. So it's so wonderful. And there's so much, there's so many stressors in the world that we live in now. There's so many different stressors and so many things happening in our world. And these children are feeling the emotions of us as parents. They're feeling those emotions, and they don't even know what they're doing with them. They're like, where did this come from? So it's beautiful that you're supporting them in that journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Renee. Do you have any thoughts on these topics so far that we've been discussing?
I do. I think it is very hard to be happy and positive when your body physically is not feeling it. So this is when I think the tools are really important. And cardiovascular exercise is incredible for me. There have been times it has just turned everything around. I had a trainer years ago, and I showed up at a mountaintop, and I had just got a text that was not intended for me. And I was on fire. And rather than going easy on me, he pushed me. We ran these mountaintops so hard. I was literally bouncing off of trees. I don't know how I didn't go over the cliff. But by the time I came down, I felt great. I didn't care anymore. So that's an incredible tool. The tapping that you mentioned, Joy, that's really great. Breathing, I think, is just unbelievable. I mean, I would just go after it with every tool possible. So put on your headphones with the binaural beats, do your breathing, and focus on what makes you feel good. I think we so often focus on our circumstances, what's happening to me at this second, but it's really not important. There are so many amazing things to be grateful for. There are so many amazing things that you can focus on, and your body will feel better. It will calm down. Your nervous system will calm down, and then it's easier to be positive. And then that just opens up a whole new world. The right people start wanting to hang out with you. Everything changes. So I think the tools are very important.
Yeah, I love that, Renee. And I love that you're sharing there's different tools and you're kind of using them in different situations. Like sometimes it's good to exercise, and sometimes it's good to like get that out in a really powerful full body way. And then there's times to use the tapping and the breathing and all of that. There's different times and different places for all of this. And I love that you're weaving that into your life. Jamie, do you have different tools that you use for regulating emotions? And
I've used everything that Renee has talked about. Done it all. Incorporate essential oils for it as well. Scripting. I didn't learn about scripting until I happened to meet Natasha Graziano randomly at an event with Mo Rock last fall. And she's like one of the top motivational speakers. This girl was like homeless years ago and now living the life of her dreams. And she's like, script out like the life you want. And so I started doing that. And then all of a sudden, like big changes started happening for me. I'm like, wow, this really works. So yeah, I love the affirmations, the mindset. And just staying in that positive energy, surrounding yourself with, people that bring you up and help propel you forward. And the more things you're grateful for, the more things you're going to attract to be grateful for. And then, the more fear you live in, the more things you're going to attract that are going to just bring you more anxiety, fear, and worry. So it definitely has been like working out for me.
Definitely is. I love that, Jamie. Thank you. Jason, what do you have to say on, different tools and things that you use for regulating yourself?
I feel like it's a great list that is being compiled here, and it kind of covers all of the bases, right? Something in there is going to work for somebody. So grab onto something, put it into use, and see if you get some results. If you get results, do it some more, right? Because I think that in that positivity, when we're trying to get that direction, we need some of those results to build on the confidence, right? And if it's not working, well, maybe we need to put it down for a second or try a new way. Once again, all about fresh perspectives, right? So trying somebody else's tool. I think ultimately what happens, the best tools eventually become something that we make our own. It's something we've heard or we've tried, and then we put our own little twist or spin or our own little energy added to it, and that becomes sort of our original thing. It's not original to the universe, right? It's not like we can just play a note somebody hasn't played before, but it is original to us. And I think those are the tools that we find that we can count on. Those are the ones we're hearing about.
Great. Thank you, Jason. I love how you're talking about, try any of these tools, try any of them, because really they all do work, and they're so powerful. And it's really, I've noticed that sometimes I have a tool that's working for me consistently, and then suddenly it stops working. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like that was my go-to. It always worked to, go for a run or do that. And it's all of a sudden stops working. So it's really great to have so many different tools and so many different resources and put that spin on it. I love how you said that.
I see Donna Campbell is in a virtual auditorium. Let's go ahead and bring her back and see if the audio has been fixed. Donna Campbell, floor is yours, please.
Hi, am I still echoing?
We don't hear an echo, so folks, take notes. You're only going to hear it one time this time. Donna Campbell would love to give you the floor for you to share some insights on this conversation, please.
Yes, absolutely. I've been following along, and I know a lot have been talking about the tools that we use to stay in a positive mindset. And one of the one that I absolutely love to share is setting a timer on your phone and have it off at some random time, because the very first step in acknowledging how we feel to sustain a positive mindset is to really create awareness. So set a timer on your phone for some odd time, like 2 hours, 7 minutes from the moment you're now. And when that timer goes off, you stop and ask yourself, how do I feel in this moment? And you might be surprised because 70-80% of the time, people don't realize that they're in a low emotional state and a higher. And once you have that recognition and that awareness, then you have the power to make that change.
Donna, nobody here had the heart to tell you that the echo came back. So we're going to ask you to step back and see if we can bring you on for a third time. But thank you for that. And Dr. Mandy, floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo, for having the heart to tell her. I appreciate it. I liked listening to her 2 times. All right. So we're going to hop on. I was curious. Let's go with Jamie. Let's see. Have you ever had a time in your life when the positive thinking didn't work? When you were trying really hard with the positive thinking and it didn't work?
Of course. Like a specific, like, what did I do? What's the question?
Yeah. Tell us what ended up working in the end.
Gosh, I don't know if I can really think of like one specific. I guess I was around somebody that wasn't inspiring me, or wasn't, not that it's somebody's position too, but I was in a bad relationship at the time, and I left that relationship. And after I left the relationship, everything started working out for me.
That's really
you have to cut ties with certain people in your energy field, I guess.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing. That was a great example. Yeah. You can't just be like, oh, I'm great. I'm doing, life is good. Life is good. No, there are certain times when it is important to make sure we're taking action to better our lives, right? And that's beautiful. Thank you. Let's go with Jeremy. Is there a time in your life when positive thinking didn't work?
Yeah, and I think what we said before is very powerful, because if we continue to try to think positive in a bad situation, I call that toxic positivity, where you're literally in this situation where you're being abused, not valued, put down, that kind of stuff. Positive thinking is just putting a Band-Aid over something. So one of the things, I had a bad roommate situation a few years ago, and it was pretty toxic, and so I knew I had to change something. So when the lease came up on our house, I was literally like, and that was one of those moments where I actually took a negative situation and used it to propel myself into a very positive situation. So I think what happens with the universe is it's saying, are you going to continue staying in this moment or in this place where you're being abused? And you can keep on doing that. We all have free will, as Jason mentioned earlier. However, when you make the decision, say, no, I value myself enough, and then you move out of that. So positive thinking, no matter what I did, wasn't changing anything, that this person was very toxic and angry and really kind of making it an uncomfortable situation to live in. So, but one of the things that I do is I talk to my inner dialogue. I have an inner dialogue that we all know about. This one, it's the one that's cussing. It's the one that's calling people names internally. It's the one putting yourself down, all that kind of stuff. And so I say, well, what is it you need me to do? What action steps would you need me to do? And, this particular time, I heard very clearly, get out of here. Why are you hanging out? And that's one of those things. We all have those, I think they're called intrinsic thoughts that are going on inside of us. Well, pay attention to them. That's part of emotional intelligence and being self-aware. And so no amount of positive thinking is going to make a toxic situation a better situation. So, yeah.
So wonderfully said, Jeremy. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us in your head for that moment, for how you navigated that. All right, let's go to Joy. I would love to hear a time when positive thinking did work for you. We're going to switch up the question.
Okay, I was all ready for the not working. Because my only plug on that is that sometimes you have to ask. You have to reach out to your people, whoever they are. And even if you have tools and you've done all this helping of other people, you still have to be okay to ask. And sometimes that's hard. That's a hard thing to do sometimes, but I've had those moments as well. The positive thinking, I love how it's been mentioned about, sorry if I don't get your names right, but about scripting and about having those positive affirmations and being able to set those intentions and manifestations. There have been several things along the way that I have since been able to change, and because of the habits, the doing the manifesting, writing scripts of what I want, being able to take the time to energetically fill my cup up, life's just up leveling, wildly so. And Donna usually is really good about keeping me in check to say, well, how does that feel? It feels really great. And in the process of it, when our cups are filled, we're able to help others. And that's the best part. So it's just this, instead of that downward spiral of smearing, I call it verbally vomiting on people. Instead of doing that, sorry if that's offensive, it raises all ships. And so the techniques that have been shared, when I am consistent at it, and within the last 2 weeks, it has blown me out of the water in all the good kind of ways.
Thank you, Joy. Speaking of Donna, it seems she has reappeared.
Absolutely. And, we only have about 15 minutes left here on this week's program. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. We're going to come back and we're going to see if Donna Campbell's mystery microphone is going to give her words to us once or twice. We don't know. We'll find out in about a minute.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And welcome back. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Mo Rock Show alongside Dr. Mandy Rose, my special guest co-host. Thank you, Dr. Mandy. You've done such a fantastic job this week. And we only have a few minutes left. So everyone here on the virtual screen, on the virtual stage, will get an opportunity to share their closing remarks for this week's episode. But before we do that, let's check to see if Donna Campbell's going to give some closing remarks this week or not. If not, we'll have to bring you back next week. Donna, please.
All right. So, are we good? Do I just have one voice?
We're good.
You gotta love technology. You gotta love technology. So what I really have taken away from this conversation, just from listening to every person, and I know each and every one of you, it's been truly amazing listening because yes, there's a place for positivity. There's a place for things when it's not positive, but ultimately we want to be more positive than not because it does provide a universal flow for us in our life that is really a catalyst for creation. And I think that's one point that I really would like to share and drive home because it's not just having a mindset of positivity, it's being positive subconsciously, consciously, because that is really our instant thought creation. And when we have our thoughts of the good, positive things and we deeply feel it in the heart space, that creation happens like that. And that's how we can truly be blessed in our lives and bless other people with it. When there's a positive thought, and a lower feeling, you're not 100% in that alignment. And so you're not going to instantly create as fast or as much as you can, really blessing the people around you. So think your positive thoughts, feel the positive feelings, do it 100% of the time and bless others with it. And that's what I'm going to share. So
thank you for that, Donna. Dr. Mandy, your closing remarks for this week's episode, and thank you again for doing such a remarkable job navigating the conversation. Let's give Dr. Mandy the full floor, producers in the green room. Okay, Dr. Mandy, please.
Thank you, Mo, for having me. This was such a fun conversation. Amazing people. I really loved all the conversations that we had tonight. It was really fun. And I think what really stood out for me was just that there are so many different ways to do this. There are so many different tools. There are so many different ways to look at this, and they're all perfect for every single person. And so it's really about finding what works best for you and what works best for you in different situations. And that may change, and that's okay. And it's a matter of really just navigating this every step along the way and finding your way through life in the best way that you can using the tools that you have. And I'm really, really grateful for all the wonderful thoughts and concepts that came up on the show tonight with all the amazing thought leaders here. So we'll pass on to the next person. I'd love to hear.
Thank you, Dr. Mandy. And let's go ahead and give the floor to Los Angeles Tribune bestselling author of The Sunshine Effect, Renee Dutton, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you again. You inspire me. And I think as leaders, we didn't get into that too much, but we do need to inspire others as leaders. And that does mean having a positive mindset and pointing out the wonderful things in the world, the positive news rather than the negative news. I mean, there are definitely things in the world that are not great, but there are enough people pointing those out. And I think as effective leaders, we need to focus on the good so that we can save our energy to really help make a difference in the world. And I just want to go back to Jeremy. What you said was so brilliant, Jeremy, about toxic relationships. So I think in order have a positive mindset, you have to empower yourself. And that means eliminating toxic relationships. I was in a toxic relationship for 25 years, and I decided that it was easier just to not say anything. That eventually manifested in me losing my voice for 9 months. First, I couldn't get air, and then it was a series of surgeries, and I had 9 months with no voice. So you cannot, you have to empower yourself. You have to set boundaries in order to stay positive. But they said I would never speak again. I'm speaking. So that's when the positive mindset comes in.
Thank you for that, Renee. I appreciate you sharing that story, and we're going to do a deep dive with you in a couple of weeks here when we have you back on the show. Jamie Fogel, you did such a fantastic job this week sharing your wisdom. Thank you. You are a thought leader. Jamie Fogel, closing remarks, please.
Well, thank you, Mo, for having me on. I always love learning about new strategies and tools and things to try to incorporate to always become a better version of myself and help to inspire other people to be a better versions of themselves. So for me, just, always remaining grateful for all the people and experiences I get to create in my life. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you for that, Jamie. Joy Beck, such a joy to see you here, no pun intended. And I'm so excited that you're officially part of the LA Tribune ecosystem and community, because I think that your voice is a very important voice. And thank you for sharing it this week. Joy Beck, closing remarks, please.
Well, thank you again for having me on, and I am thrilled. My words of hope are be on the lookout for greatness and feel the feelings and decide if they're the ones you want to live with. And if you don't, we just went over a whole bunch of different techniques and tips and tricks, as I call them, to be able to course correct. So thank you so much, and keep on the lookout for greatness.
Thank you for that, Joy. And of course, my friend Jason Antelek, thank you so much for all that you do, the stand that you hold in the space that you carry on this planet for positive change. You are an integrity-driven leader, and I'd love to give you the floor for closing remarks. Jason, please.
Thank you, Mo, for supporting the community the way that you do in so many different communities and ways, creating opportunities like this for everyone to come together, however they're going to participate. And I just would like to remind everybody that a little positive thinking, a little secret sauce, a little hype, right? You're kind of making your own unique recipe, and all of the things have their benefit, even the awareness of the negativity. So all of it together is what makes you. Just get your authentic self out there in a way that works and aligns with who you are.
Thank you for that, Jason. He is a storyteller, and he is an alchemist. The storytelling alchemist. Jeremy, please, floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Mo. One of the things I would say is when it comes to positive thinking is that give yourself grace in life. Charles Fillmore said that spirituality and self-development is a lifelong process. So you're not going to get it right all the time. It's actually impossible. And be grateful that you don't get it right all the time, because that gives you a platform to get better. And so what I would say is that the positivity is to know that I'm positively going to grow every single day. And I'm going to use these tools when I make mistakes to get better at my life and have a lifelong process of growth. And so thanks for having me on the show, Mo. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for that, Jeremy. And I want to thank everyone in the virtual auditorium. I want to thank the thought leaders that presented their ideas. I want to thank the producer of this week's program, Alicia Magnus Lewis, who's in the background doing everything possible to make this happen. And final message I'd like to share with the audience is I believe that the most powerful word in the English dictionary that defines your destiny is attitude. And of course, here I have a copy of The Strangest Secret. This is a transcription of the audio by Earl Nightingale. And decades ago, Earl Nightingale taught us the most important word in the English language that defines our destiny, and that's attitude. And I do believe that attitude is a secret sauce, and I don't believe it's just hype. That doesn't mean we bury our heads in the sand when things go south, But that means that when things don't work out the way we want them to, we still know that eventually things will fall into place. How many times in life did something happen where in that moment it felt horrible, it felt like a disaster, but in retrospect, it was one of the greatest things that happened to us? And so positive thinking isn't burying our head in the sand. Positive thinking isn't being naive about life. Positive thinking is knowing that even when things suck, it will all work out in the end. So I want to thank everyone here. I want to thank the folks in the virtual auditorium. And of course, Dr. Mandy for doing a remarkable job as my co-host this week. And we'll see you here next week, same time, same place. Thank you again to our producer, Alicia Magnus Lewis.